Welcome to the award ceremony of the Frankfurt Conservation Award of Bruno H. Schubert Foundation 2021. Well, we would have loved to have all the laureates here in Frankfurt, and we would have loved to welcome them here and hug them here. And, this can't be the case because the world is ruled by King Corona at the moment. So therefore, we really need to be very patient, and we really have to take good care of one another. This is true for the studio here as well. So everyone has been tested here because we don't really want to run any risk whatsoever. I've got Dr. Christoph Schenk here with me. Good evening. You are a member of the management board of the foundation, and you are the managing director of Frankfurt Zoological Society. So you know what this is all about, and you especially know all the laureates because you went to visit them right on site. So therefore, the following question: what do you think about their achievements, the achievements of these laureates this year? Well, Schubert Foundation has really been awarding prizes for special conservationists, and this year we really have particularly special ones. They really actually spent their entire life in this field of conservation of nature, and they really committed to that cause, and they really achieved a lot, also risking their life at times. And now let's look at the different laureates. So first of all, from Colombia we have Julia Miranda Londoño. There she is. Hola Julia, good evening. And in Brazil there is Dr. Silvana Campello and Georgos Georgiadis. Hello to Brazil. And then in Peru, that's where we've got Teófilo Torres Tuesta. Hola to Peru. Well, obviously we're going to learn more about the laureates and their projects in a little bit, and I'm going to spend the following 60 minutes with you and present things to you. My name is Volker Angres. I'm a member of the board of trustees of the foundation as well, and then in my professional life I'm the head of the ZDF's editorial department for environmental affairs. We produce a weekly environmental documentary called Planet E, and this is also available in English on the internet. Well, Schubert Foundation has been about conservation of nature for its entire existence, and this is due to the fact that the founder, Bruno H. Schubert, really knew right from the beginning that it's all about biodiversity, and obviously the laureates know that as well, or even more so. But some people might say, well, I don't really care about protection of nature. What is it to me that some insects may become extinct? What is this all about? So what? Why should that matter? And this is what it is all about. We really need to try to make everyone enthusiastic about nature and its protection, and there is a very good method to do so, and this is making people be surprised and amazed, and this is something you can do by photos of amazement. This one here from Julia from Colombia, this is a hawksbill sea turtle with a robust stomach. It loves to eat sea sponges. Some of these are highly toxic, but not for this particular kind of turtle, because it's one of the few animals that can eat silicious organisms without intoxication. Here in the protected area of Malpelo in the Colombian Pacific, you can still find this particular species of turtles. Unfortunately, this is on the threat of extinction. Or this photo here. Here you can see an Araguaia river dolphin. You see it has a pink shimmer. Only in 2014 this new species of pink dolphins was discovered. So apparently he and the fellow members of his species had been hiding well over the last 2 million years. So others live in the Tocantins River, which is a tributary to the Amazon. So according to estimates, there are only 1,000 of these dolphins left. And this is a picture from Silvana and Jorgos from Brazil. Another example here, the arowana fish. They live in the Jaguars National Park. The males here are the babysitters because they hatch the eggs in their mouths. And they are a top export item as well because they are caught alive and then sent to all over the world. So they are among the most expensive ornamental fish. Chinese collectors, for example, would readily pay 100,000 euros for just a single fish, mind you. This is a picture from Teófilo in Peru, and this is something that I selected. Spider silk. Spider silk is 4 times as durable as steel as a ratio of its weight, can be extended to triple length without breaking. These filaments are really light and they're waterproof and they're also biodegradable. So these characteristics for some plastics material would be highly interesting for all sorts of industries, and a lot of research is being done in this respect. Now, are you still amazed about things like that, Christoph? Especially due to the fact that you've been out in nature for many times? Well, absolutely. Well, Christoph, the laureates this year are from South America. The jury has selected them accordingly, and this is not without reason. What do you think about the situation of the Amazon area? Well, this is the biggest rainforest area, 15 times as big as Germany. It's the biggest one all over the world. And so therefore we can really say we absolutely need intensive care for this area. We are the virus for this ecosystem. This has got something to do with the overall water circuit. So if you start deforestation there, then evaporation is missing, because then the water is drained and not available anymore. But the rainforest is called rainforest because it needs lots of rain, and if there's no rain, then it comes to an automatic deforestation. Then you don't even need logging or fire or whatever else. It happens automatically, and this starts this process if 25% have been deforested already. And now this is the horror message, because at the moment we are at a level of 17% of deforestation, and then once we reach this tipping point, then we really reach a point of automatic deforestation, and then the whole process would be out of control, because this would really be the start of the apocalypse. And once we really reach this tipping point, then we don't really have to talk about climate protection here anymore. That's the message, right? Yes, absolutely. And that is why we really wanted to focus on the Amazon region with our laureates, the selection of our laureates. Now, Silvana and Georges, why do we still have this deforestation without any restriction? Why is it still ongoing?
Well, the main reason for the spike in deforestation in the past couple of years is that enforcement of forestry law has basically stopped in Brazil. Our agencies have been defunded. Our enforcement personnel are under threat of administrative procedures if they actually carry out their job. So deforesters know that they're not going to be caught and they're not going to be punished if they deforest. And they're taking advantage of this window. They know it may not last forever. So they want to deforest as much as they can, as fast as they can. And this is what we're seeing in the past couple of years.
Well, thank you very much for this first assessment. Obviously, we're going to talk about this also with the other laureates a little bit later. And obviously would have liked to have the entire board of management and board of trustees here of the foundation, that is, but unfortunately this was not possible because of the pandemic, and that is why the CFO has thought about something else. And he said, well, I would love to show our award winners where the home base of the foundation actually is. So let's take a walk with him through Frankfurt. Altfried Lütgenhaus.
Manhattan? No, Manhattan. That is how Frankfurters call their city. because of the River Main. My name is Alfred Lütgenhaus. I am member of the board of Bruno Schubert Foundation and I am responsible for finance. I live in this area with my family since 25 years. Frankfurt is my professional hometown, as banker, as lawyer and as consultant. And I love this city. With its business facilities and its European institutions like the European Central Bank, but less than 1 million inhabitants, Frankfurt is quite a small giant. Luckily, with enough space for nature and green surroundings. But of course, there is no real wilderness. What a pity. As a member of the board of Frankfurt Savings Bank, I met a lot of people. And that is how I got in contact with Frankfurt Zoological Society and Bruno Schubert Foundation at last. And from the very first moment, I loved these customers. Imagine the stories they could tell about at the same time fascinating, endangered, hidden, mysterious and reclusive places and species all over the world. What a contrast to banking regulations and balance sheet figures that shaped my daily life. And I wanted to become a part of it in any way I could contribute. Frankfurt is a very old city from the 8th century. Shortly, the heart of the old town, the so-called Römer, had been restored. Most of the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation had been elected in Frankfurt Cathedral. And since the 16th century, they had been crowned here as well. And here at Paulskirche in the 19th century, the first parliament was established. So Frankfurt became the cradle of German democracy too. At Frankfurt's roots lies the pathway through the River Main to cross from one riverbank to the other. So Frankfurt became part of an important trade route. Frankfurt has always been a place to be for history, trade and business. Remember Bruno Schubert, an industrialist, an owner of a large brewery, which he sold at the end of the 1970s to invest inter alia in global nature conservation. One of his legacies, awards for successful efforts in nature conservation wherever in the world. This is why we meet today. Who are the award winners this year? Look forward to getting to know this year's heroes of nature conservation in just a couple of minutes. And please, be our guests and supporters also in the future, when we meet again, virtually or in real attendance, to honor more men and women who take all efforts to save the planet.
Well, and we obviously tune in straight away. Congratulations to you on the Bruno H. Schubert Award 2021. Well, Christoph, there are different categories of the prize. Which are these? Well, this year there are 2 categories. Traditionally, you have category 1, which is to somebody's life's work who really has come up with extraordinary achievements over a long period of time. And the second category would be the hidden heroes, as it were. So those who really fight on the forefront of nature conservation, people nobody really knows about, and we really want to really have them in the limelight, as it were. And there is prize money as well, 60,000 euros altogether. Well, yes, this prize really is highly endowed. There is one category amounting to 30,000, and in the second category amounting to 15,000 euros each. Well, that's quite a lot of money. You can really do something with that, can't you? Well, therefore, let's look at the different projects and the laureates. And therefore, first of all, we go to prize category 1. And as we heard, extraordinary personalities are awarded the prize. And now we're going to turn to Colombia, to Julia Miranda Londoño.
My name is Julia Miranda. As you all know, Colombia is located in the northwestern corner of South America. We have coast on the two oceans, the Andean mountain chain, the Amazon, big savannas, páramos, glaciers, archipelagos, rivers and wetlands. This magnificent diversity is reflected in the Colombian protected area system that covers 60% of the continental territory and 13% of the marine national area. During my time as director, we enlarged the extension of the protected areas over 10 million hectares. This is 2.5 times the size of Switzerland. We declared 13 protected areas and enlarged the emblematic World Heritage Chiribiquete National Park in the Amazon region of Colombia and also the World Heritage Marine Protected Area of Malpelo. We also consolidated strong alliances with local indigenous and Afro-Colombian people and also the peasants to preserve nature and their ancestral cultures to ensure their well-being. On the other hand, at the present time, Colombia is facing many and complex challenges in the field related with the implementation of the peace process and the need to control the illegal crops, illegal mining, illegal cattle raising, deforestation, traffic of fauna, and illicit use of the land. These menaces can only be overcome by the combined efforts of the public and private sectors, as well as good policies. That is why today I reaffirm my personal commitment to continue the work to preserve nature and support the well-being of local communities in my country. Thank you very much.
Julia, congratulations on the Bruno H. Schubert Award 2021. 30,000 euros, that's the prize money. Christoph, first of all, from the jury's point of view, or from your point of view, what makes Julia's personality so outstanding? Well, she really is a shining example, not only for Colombia, but for the whole world, because for 16 years she was in charge of the National Park Authority in Colombia, a very important authority, because we are really talking about 16% of the overall area of Colombia. And 13 new protected areas were created during her time in office. If you just imagine this happening in Germany, I mean, we don't even have that sort of job in Germany, but I mean, this would be someone who would be entered into the books of history straight away. And then if you just consider the size of this huge national park, it's much bigger than 3 times Switzerland. But then again, she's also been active on a worldwide scale. She is also the chairman of the World Commission for Protected Areas. And then I also asked her fellow employees and asked her about her boss and what they think about her. And they said, well, she is just an absolutely shining example. And just because she really asks a lot of them. And this is why she also was awarded many prizes as a manager, and she really is a shining example for the world, and that's why she's been awarded this prize. A question to Julia in Colombia. Currently, what are the biggest challenges for you when it comes to conservation of nature?
Well, thank you so much. I am very happy today to be with you. We have big challenges. We have to stop deforestation, eliminate the illegal crops in my country, and control the illegal occupation of the land, which is a very big problem in protected areas and natural resources. Among the illegal activities that we have, cattle raising is the one that has the biggest impacts. We really need the agricultural sector to involve and be part of the solution. These illegal activities in protected areas are really very strong in terms of damage of the forests, biodiversity, very bad for climate. Is really something that we have to solve in our country. We really think that the strengthening of the governance of these territories, for instance, the Amazon, has to be done with the local communities, the indigenous population, with the government and the private institutions. That is the biggest challenge, to get the governance adequate to solve these terrible problems that we have.
Now, Julia, the pictures that we saw before in the videos, I mean, this really makes you want to go to Colombia straight away. I really learned that Colombia, it really is a ecologic microcosmos, all sorts of landscapes, vegetation zones, 2 oceans, a huge variety. So from your point of view, what does this enormous variety mean for global biodiversity?
Well, it is a big responsibility that Colombia has, because we have the 10% of all the world's biodiversity. So due to the location that the country has in the globe, in the northeast part of South America, in the west corner of South America, we have this richness that we have the responsibility to take care. We are number 1 in birds in the world, and also orchids and other important data like mammals and many species and ecosystems. More than 90 ecosystems, completely different one from each other, we have here in Colombia. So the efforts that we have to do are very important to preserve the richness that we have in our country.
Thank you very much, Julia. It is really so exciting to listen to you, but we have to continue with the next category and the next prize winner. So the second category is about extraordinary individual achievements. So therefore, let me take you to another enchanting protected area, to Brazil, and let me take you to Silvana Campello and Georgios Georgiadis. Right, this is absolutely fascinating, a wonderful area, and you really know this area, Christoph, the Cantau Reserve. Can you please explain what makes it special? Well, this area really is characterized by absolute biodiversity and beauty, as you could see in these different pictures, because two different ecosystems meet. So there you have the savanna, and then you have the rainforest, and then you have different tributaries to the rivers. So this is the area where different turtles, caimans, giant otters, jaguars, and river dolphins, for example, live, as we'd seen before. So therefore, this is really a huge variety, huge biodiversity. It's a huge area here in terms of hectares, an excellent region. And in 2019, when we could see these burning rainforests in our living rooms and we stared at this in horror, that's when Silvana and Georgios really were out there trying to extinguish the fires, so these areas wouldn't exist without them, and the fires couldn't have been stopped without them, and many others. And that's why we have a certificate for the prize, which we're handing over virtually, and obviously the prize money amounting to 15,000 euros. And congratulations again. Well, Silvana and Georgios, the question to you: which role does the cooperation with the indigenous population play for you and in your work?
In the protected areas where we work, there is no history of indigenous people occupation. It's unusual in the Amazon, but no people live there, no people have a claim there, and it's good because they can be managed primarily for the wildlife, for the ecosystems. Now, there are communities around, and these are communities where fishing is very important. Not only commercial fishing, but also recreational fishing and fishing-based tourism nowadays. So we have an outreach program that really focuses on showing people that if you have protected areas where there's no fishing, it's a no-take zone, is the best way for you to ensure that you can have sustainable fishing in the rivers around the protected area.
And President Bolsonaro hasn't really signaled any support for the conservation of nature, and especially he doesn't really want to fight for it at all. So what about the situation right on site? Are there still local authorities with which you can really successfully cooperate?
Well, our state government, like most Amazon state government, is aligned with Bolsonaro ideologically. So unfortunately, their position is that the civil society and non-governmental organizations are demonized and are excluded so that they can carry out whatever policies they want without interference. So we have not found, unfortunately, any way to cooperate even with the state government. At the local level, it's different because the local people respect our work after so many years that we're here. And that means the local politicians, of course, end up respecting our work, and also employees of the state and federal government that work at the local level. We have been able to have informal cooperation with them.
What about your outlook? What would you say? Because before we heard how important intact rainforest is for the world climate altogether. So therefore the question is, what is your outlook? What about the future development of biodiversity in Brazil?
Well, you see, Brazil is following the same pattern of development that's very traditional. And throughout our human civilization, it has been tremendously detrimental to biodiversity. And I believe that our pursuit for money, leisure, and resources will take us everywhere in the planet. I believe humans will tend to occupy every planet, and that's detrimental to biodiversity. And that is why I believe protected areas are so important at this stage, because we need to set aside those important pieces of land, those protected areas, whether public or private, and they should be places for animals and plants first, with none or at least minimal human interference. We believe that that's the best way that we can guarantee the protection of biodiversity in Brazil and around the world.
Well, thank you very much, Silvana and Georgios. And this really takes us directly to the third project. And we're going to see the two of you again later on, obviously, the closing round. And now we're going to turn to Teófilo Torres. In September 2015, he became the head of the Yaguas Reserved Zone. And this should be turned into a national park because this is something that hadn't worked for many years before. Teófilo got started, was super successful, and in January 2018, Yaguas was turned into a national park.
Yaguas es un parque nacional recientemente creado y que para mí es uno de los sitios más diversos y completos que existen en el planeta. Yo soy natural de la comunidad de Remanso en el Bajo Putumayo. Mis padres son de origen huitoto. Éramos tan soberanos en la alimentación. En las chacras se producía todo lo que era necesario. El bosque te proveía todo. Esos son unos de los recuerdos que me ata a seguir apoyando. Fueron las comunidades las que impulsaron la creación del parque. Con sus federaciones bien posicionadas, tuvieron un rol muy importante. Antes de que sea declarado como parque nacional, Yaguas estaba invadido por mineros ilegales como por madereros. Yaguas no tenía recursos, ni presupuesto, ni personal, ni equipos, ni infraestructura. Nos hemos valido de los socios y cooperantes que están apoyando, pero esto fue bastante difícil, porque hubo muchas intervenciones un poco violentas. Fue una cosa terrible, porque estos mineros ilegales en un momento cerraron el acceso que es por el río Yaguas. No teníamos nada, no teníamos combustible, ni alimento, pero contamos con el apoyo de las comunidades en ese momento. Ellos nos dijeron, por trocha, hagamos trocha. Y ahí fue como una esperanza que salió así. La balanza se inclinó a favor de nosotros y se pudo ganar. Y de esa manera el Parque Nacional Yaguas hasta hoy está protegido.
Well, this as well is a super interesting project. So, Christoph, what was most fascinating for you and the jury about the project and Teófilo? Well, Teófilo really is a hero of environmental protection. He actually is from an indigenous village on the Putumayo River, and he's now the head of the park. He's working for the park authorities, Cernamp, and he works for this great Yaguas National Park, 9,000 square kilometers, 4 times as big as all the 16 national parks in Germany put together. Huge park of rainforest, that is. And Teófilo has lots of different wonderful skills. And one of the great ones is solving conflicts peacefully. We actually were ambushed in 2016. That was before the creation of the national park. And he actually managed to solve this rather problematic situation without violence. It was about illegal gold mining, everything. He managed really well to solve this crisis and conflict. And Yaguas really stands for the excellent cooperation with a state-run authority, with indigenous communities, and one of the international institutions like Zoological Society Frankfurt. So congratulations from here, from Frankfurt to Peru. Congrats, Teófilo, for the Award 2021. Obviously, we have this virtual certificate here for you and the prize money amounting to 15,000 euros. I'd like to hear a couple of details from you. So we heard about you establishing the Yaguas National Park. So this process had come to a halt before, and how did you actually reactivate this process, and how did you manage to be so successful with doing that? Well, this only worked because because there was this strong alliance between the local communities, because they really wanted the national park, but then on the other hand you also needed the cooperation with the state authorities, especially with the military, because fighting against all these illegal activities only was possible because of this strong commitment of the military, and only after really being successful with that, the national park could then be established. Well, this sounds like a very exciting story, but Teofilo, from the criminal backers' point of view, those who were supporting the illegal miners and loggers, from their point of view, you probably were a disturbing factor, yeah? Isn't that dangerous? Don't they want to get rid of you? Are there any threats? And if yes, how do you deal with that?
Bueno, realmente el trabajo de conservación es nuestra pasión. Y frente a eso nosotros sabemos que pasamos cosas muy difíciles, entre ellos las amenazas contra nuestras vidas, tanto nuestra como de nuestro personal.
Well, indeed, there are lots of threats against me personally, against our employees, but we really just wanted to not be afraid of any of that, also not by threats of death. We have to keep going, because only then can this national park continue with its existence.
La conservación de las áreas protegidas.
So, we really wish you all the best. Please take good care of you. Thank you very much, Teofilo. And now let's have another look at all the other award winners, and let's get them all together in this final round. Well, all of these are great projects, wonderful award winners. Christoph, now, very mean question. Do you really have a favorite project here? Oh, well, that is very difficult, because they're all really heroes of nature conservation, and we're very proud of the fact that we can really award prizes to these heroes. In 2 years, we are then going to award the next prize. I mean, let's wait and see what happens next. So I now see that everyone is back on board, all our laureates, great. So therefore we're going to have a final round of questions. First goes to Julia. So for many years you've now been fighting for conservation of nature. If you have a look at the situation worldwide, what is your impression? What about the commitment for conservation of nature and biodiversity, and how far has it changed?
Well, I have seen the increasing of awareness of the importance of nature and the commitment to preserve and restore it. Governments, private organizations and companies, young people are now involved like never before. I had the opportunity to promote campaigns to increase people's sense of pride about the beautiful country that we have and the biggest wealth, which is our nature. There is more and better information now and scientific knowledge than ever before. For me, anyway, it is a moment to thank all of them. The NGOs like the Frankfurt Zoological Society and the Schubert Foundation, of course. My colleagues of the World Commission on Protected Areas of the IUCN, for the generous work for conservation that all of these people and organizations are doing now, and to inspire people. I think that in that way, we are going to be able to get more results in the field.
Well, Teofilo, for years there has been this discussion about valorization of nature, so giving a certain value to this, so therefore paying for a well taken care for sort of rainforest. So what do you think, if this was to be implemented on a worldwide scale? What do you think? Would that sort of concept help the ecosystems around the world?
La compensación para la conservación de la biodiversidad es uno de los ejes que creo que ha ido generando mucha alianza a nivel internacional. Pero la forma como hay que hacerlo cada vez ha ido mejorando. Por conservación hay que incluir.
So paying for these environmental services, this is something which will have to be beneficial for the local population and the ecosystems. They are really promising models, but these have to be developed further, much further. Especially, they really have to be applied not only for the protection of ecosystems and biodiversity, but also for the benefit of the local populations.
Creo que son modelos que debe contribuir con el bienestar tanto de la población como de los ecosistemas.
Now, Silvana and Jorgos, they are back on board as well. So therefore the question to you, we all really envy you for the fact that you spend so many weeks outdoors in nature and you are in close contact with great plants and animals and rare animals and plants as well. And now here we cry out for help here from Germany and say, please encourage us here. So the question is, why should we also really care for a little bit of wilderness here in Germany?
Well, it's all a matter of environmental awareness of the planet. Environmental awareness is a global necessity. Through observation and understanding, we can contextualize ourselves in the planet. And if we understand that we need water to drink, air to breathe, and leisure for peace of mind, we will want to protect those resources. And then ultimately there's the moral issue. We don't need to know everything. We just need to understand that we have to protect our partners in the planet, the animals and plants who are joining us in this incredible journey we call life. And that's why we need to protect every single inch of what remains in our beautiful planet, our colleagues, our partners, our world. That's why we really need conservationists, and we really need people who care and to promote environmental awareness.
Ich bedanke mich sehr für diese exklusive Runde der Preisträgerinnen und Preisträger 2021. So, und jetzt ist es Zeit, die Vorsitzende der Bruno H. Schubert kennenzulernen, und sie hat sich auch einen Gast mitgebracht. Hier ist Gabriele Eick.
Hello, Dr. Wiedemeyer. Thank you for being here today. My pleasure. In times of green finance, what about sustainability at Frankfurt Sparkasse 1822? Well, Frankfurt Sparkasse 1822 has been drawing up an environmental balance for many years. We look at the consumption of water, paper, electricity, but in terms of sustainability, we take this broad-based approach because we really look at the effects on our customers, their loans, and also their investment behavior. So it's going far beyond what we did originally. Something that is really interesting is the following. During Joe Biden's climate conference, we saw lots of CEOs apart from statesmen. Why is that? Why were they all present? Well, I really think that these CEOs are more and more aware of their social responsibility, and that's why they actually go and attend such meetings in order to really show that it is not just about short-term maximization of profits, no, that it is really more about long-term sustainability. So they really want to be durable and sustainable, and that's why these meetings are good for conveying this message. So green finance played a very important role. I really asked myself whether fossil energies, because of the change in demand, can maybe see a slowdown here in a tricky way without political decisions, because basically the investors are going to decide on the basis of green factors. And I'm asking myself whether this is something that you discuss here in Frankfurt. Well, we can realize that both in Germany and the world over, there was an enormous increase in terms of issuance of green bonds, an enormous increase in demand. A couple of years ago, we had a small toolkit of products, but now there's more and more demand, and we're extending the range of products as well, because customers also actively ask for these kind of things. And here in Frankfurt, we have a cluster, a platform for a broad-based discussion on this in this context, and there is the Value Balancing Alliance, and they do analysis in this context, and I'm interested to hear more about what they will find out in the future. Well, yes, that sounds like a rather positive trend, but despite of all that, we have the feeling that things should really go much faster and should develop much faster. So I'm asking myself, is there something else with which you could increase the pressure? Well, I really think that the pressure is rather high already, and this is something that the companies can feel as well. There are more and more obligations of publishing and making transparent certain information, and this is something that is also reflected in ratings. So rating results have a certain effect on terms and conditions, on loans being granted and so forth, and so therefore the companies have to get ready for that. And so financial institutions are very important in this context, obviously. Dr. Wiedemeyer, thank you very much for this interview. And now we are going to hear from Professor Dr. Manfred Nikisch, who is the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Bruno H. Schubert Foundation, and he's going to send out a wake-up call to all of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen and friends of our foundation, during the last hour we met impressive personalities and we saw impressive habitats, especially the forests of Amazonia, and we already also congratulated all these laureates from the depth of our heart, or from the bottom of our heart, and we are so glad to be able to work together and cooperate with these areas and these people, because they are the ones to protect Amazonia, because it's not only an area of biodiversity that needs to be preserved, no, it's also one of the big engines for climate for the whole world. When I went to visit Amazonia for the first time many years ago, I said, well, it's such a huge forest, what should happen there? Because it's so huge, nothing can go wrong here. And I really have to say I was completely wrong. I simply have to admit that, because this really shows how quickly these developments went ahead in Amazonia. Unfortunately, not in the sense of a positive development, because this is something that really threatens our own quality of life in the long run, because our climate problems will really only get worse if we keep threatening the Amazon area. So Amazonia needs to be preserved, and our laureates really fight exactly for that in a very special way. And we also are very happy to hear so many positive messages from these areas, because these examples that we saw today and heard about today are really encouraging. Something is happening. So there are private organizations and there are state-run authorities as well, and there are people who are not afraid of anything. They're even ready to risk their lives in order to really protect these treasures. But what is decisive is the fact that really are left alone in their fight if we don't support them, if we don't commit ourselves to the protection of Amazonia as well. We all know that wood dealing is a problem, but at the moment the big problem really is palm oil and soybean cultivation, soybeans that we then import in order to feed our cattle. This is incredible. It is just outrageous to really think about that in order to really just take care of overproduction of meat. So therefore our behavior here in Germany is absolutely decisive in terms of what will happen in Amazonia, and that's why we have to really change our consumption behavior. We have to show our solidarity with these countries and these people who need to preserve these tropical forests for us. We can do a lot. We can change our breeding of cattle. We really have to prevent feed from these regions to be imported here to our countries in order to come to grips with our problems. We really have to reduce our consumption, as I said, and we also really have to keep supporting those organizations that try to preserve and protect Amazonia and other regions, and as our organizations and our society and foundation does. So therefore we are absolutely sure about the fact that these laureates know what to do with the prize money, and that we are absolutely sure that they can really achieve a lot in the future with this prize money. Thank you for having been here. Thank you for having shared this award ceremony with us. Well, Professor Manfred Nickisch, thank you very much. So, one more time, it has become very clear that everything is really intertwined and interconnected on this planet, and no one at all can just shy away from his or her responsibility. And now we will come to the end of this virtual award ceremony of Schubert Foundation's Award 2021. And so, obviously, the floor is GabrieleEix, the chairwoman of the foundation, and I'm sure she's already thinking about what to do in 2 years' time when it comes to the next award ceremony. Well, thank you very much, Volker. Well, Amazonia, the rainforest, this is our lifeline. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for having been on board today. Thank you very much for having taken time to listen to this very important topic. And this is something that was a topic that was dear to the heart of Bruno H. Schubert during his lifetime. This Bruno H. Schubert-Prize is one of the highest endowed prizes here in Germany for environmental protection, and we just hope that this is something that will be improved in the future, even more so, because 60,000 euros is an enormous amount of money. And if we look at the development in the capital market, we can really see that protecting the environment, this is something that is a unifying factor for all of us. We are proud of the award winners today, and their CVs are completely different from one another, but they all are full of positive skills and features. Well, I would like to thank Volker Angres very cordially, because he chaired this award ceremony so amazingly. And I also thank everyone in front of and behind the cameras in their home offices. And thank you very much for bearing with us here, despite of all the technical challenges. Thank you very much for this year's Frankfurt Conservation Award. And well, now, ladies and gentlemen, you will have to wait for 2 years, and then we'll meet yet again face to face, and maybe a little bit hybrid. All the best to all of you. Stay safe. And our last round of greetings goes to Amazonia here, to our laureates. Congratulations to Amazonia, and goodbye.